This is the Chiefs official podcast network.
Take advantage of the day. When you get an opportunity in this game, you make a play. The playmakers on three. 1, 2, 3.
Touchdown, Kansas City! The Chiefs are right in the thick of it, baby!
Welcome to this 142.2 edition of Defending the Kingdom, meaning the Chiefs finally get to play at home, Arrowhead Stadium, against a tough opponent in the Baltimore Ravens. Chiefs, the last team to open at home, now the last 2 years in a row, of any team in the National Football League. We're going to get you ready for this first home game, and one of the ways we're going to do that is to tell you that our Defending the Kingdom podcast is brought to you by Limited Edition 360 Vodka. Check out the Chiefs commemorative bottle, now available in stores. 360 Vodka is Kansas City's hometown vodka and the official vodka of the Kansas City Chiefs. Your game day cocktails are covered with 360 Vodka. Grab a bottle for your next tailgate or watch party, including this Sunday as the Chiefs will take on the Baltimore Ravens. Mitch Holthus with you, voice of the Chiefs, along with 10-year National Football League veteran, the barbershop, Shawn Barber. And what a game we have here. Probably the best game in the entire National Football League in Week 3, the undefeated Baltimore Ravens and the undefeated Kansas City Chiefs. But it's finally time to open the doors to the kingdom and let it rip.
Man, definitely. You said episode 142.2. Nothing else matters beside that decimal point. Being able for the team, after being on the road for 2 weeks, to come home back in their backyard, defending their crown as they sit atop of the AFC West as the number one seed, facing a Ravens team that feels like they're on top of the rooster, the top of the nest. It's going to be a great battle, man. I can't wait. Hearing you talk about 360 Vodka had me fantasizing a little bit about a little vodka and cranberry as I thought about the Sea of Red.
Wait for that, because it'll be at the end of the podcast. But I want to ask you about Arrowhead Stadium and playing here. One of the things I talked with Andy Reid about this week, in fact, I'm going to ask him again during our pregame show on the radio network, is it's easy to take for granted what we have here. Mm-hmm. To have a stadium that's full, 1, 2, a stadium of fans that come wanting to impact the game, because they come wanting to get a false start. They come to say, hey, what do I do to help us win? But as a player, as a coach, as a broadcaster, as a fan, what it means to have Arrowhead Stadium in that environment as a pro and as a fan, and easy to take it for granted.
Well, first of all, when we talk about sellouts, we talk about how long this Chiefs kingdom has constantly filled that arena every Sunday, every home game, season in, season out, no matter if it was a 2-win season or a 12-win season. We have some of the most faithful and committed fans here in Kansas City that you'll see anywhere in the nation. So we talk about a stadium being full, and I look back at the years when I got drafted by the Washington Redskins, and we had sellouts. We had games where all the seats were sold, but I go around looking around the stadium as I warmed up, and there were so many empty seats. It was more of from a corporate outing type. People just would straggle into the game around halftime to see if they could see the end of the game. They just wanted to be there for third downs, and that's when they cheered. It was on cue in the fourth quarter. If you got it to a third and long, then all of a sudden they started to cheer. That's not how it is here in the kingdom. Our fans get here early and often. They tailgate out in that parking lot. You have that billowing smoke of barbecue, barbecue beans, burnt ends, ribs. You got that smoking from about 8 o'clock in the morning. They start early and often and have that environment cooking on all cylinders by the time kickoff.
Yeah, and you can top up those beans with this limited edition 360 Vodka, the commemorative Chiefs bottle, sponsoring our podcast. To be a defender, to play in the Chiefs Kingdom at Arrowhead Stadium, and I've seen that just guys elevate their game. If a player's like a marginal player, I've seen him play at 2 levels higher here. Mm-hmm. Some really respond to it. Before we get into the Ravens, that'll be the second quarter of our podcast. But the first quarter is what it means to be a defender on that field with that stadium with the 142.2 cranking.
Well, that 142.2 is just a amount of energy. That's a symbol and a sign. That's a number value that can be attached to how does it feel in decibels when the crowd is cheering for that defense to make a stop, or cheering for you after you make a big quarterback pressure a sack, and you feel that energy and that excitement from all the fans just kind of go through your system and go through your bones. The one player that we have that really emulates it and responds to that like no other is Chris Jones. When you see the way he feeds off the energy and he asks for the crowd to give him more and he gives them his best and they go back and forth, that's a representation of what it means to be that home field advantage. But it's also for everybody on the field, every D lineman, everybody who's trying to get off that ball when the ball is hiked. When you're on the defensive side of the ball, you know you don't have to worry about hard counts because the offensive line can't hear anything. So everybody's moving on the movement of the ball. That's an advantage for the D-line. We are more athletic on the defensive front than most offensive linemen. We are going forward while they're retreating backwards. So that leads to a defense being more aggressive, quicker off the ball. And then because that crowd is all that energy and excitement, once a quarterback and an offense gets set and he looks over the defense, if he doesn't like what he sees and he wants to change your play, well, now whoever the opposing quarterback has to battle with crowd noise. Does he have enough time to get it properly communicated to everybody on the field so they can have a positive play? Sometimes that crowd plays a very significant part when we talk about communicating on the offensive side of the ball.
And turnovers, I've just seen it happen with the defense when they start to feed and get turnovers. The Chiefs in their heyday, yanking the ball out, prying it loose. I'll get to Lamar Jackson here in the second quarter. But let's just even go back to the AFC Championship game. If that interception stands from Charvarius Ward that would have won the game for the Chiefs, that meant Tom Brady would have thrown 3 interceptions in that game. The narrative would have been way different. As it stood, he threw 2 in the AFC Championship game, including 1 in the end zone. So even the best quarterback who's ever played the game in this league, and he will tell you, he'll admit to you,
he will.
Playing at Arrowhead now is a whole different animal.
Yeah, when you call him the GOAT, it's for a reason. It's a body of work over his entire career. But there's been a lot of great quarterbacks come to Arrowhead Stadium and put up some stinkers, right? We've had Peyton Manning come
including here. Brady, they took him out of the game in 14. Oh, yeah. They got beat 41-14 here.
That game comes to mind, but also the Peyton Manning debacle that year when he came in and turned over the ball, about 6 picks for the Chiefs defense. So we've had some really all-time great quarterbacks come into this house, and it's something about the sea of red, something about the atmosphere, something about the energy, the amount of energy just, they want to say it's hollow ground. They want to say it's spirits of old, Chiefs of the past times coming back and haunting them. But it's that crowd, and it allows the receivers and the quarterback sometimes to be a little bit unsure about the depth of their route, the timing of the route. Are we seeing the same thing? And am I feeling Chris Jones? Am I feeling Frank Clark on my shoulder? Or is it the crowd noise that I'm feeling? Is that making me feel like I need to rush this ball out? Because after the ball is snapped, you hear this energy, you hear this roar rise up after a second and a half. Is the crowd cheering because one of their guys is close to me, or is it just an expectation of whatever it is? But whatever it is making that quarterback a little bit having to feel like he needs to get that ball out of his hands a little bit too quick. Leads to tip balls, leads to miscommunication. All of those things are great signs for the defense.
And one thing I think has been underappreciated about the Chiefs defense the first 2 weeks is I've counted 10 different guys. I was talking to Spags about this earlier in the week. 10 different guys who have made significant plays at key times to flip the game, whether it was in Jacksonville, Damian Wilson's strip and Breeland's fumble recovery, or against Oakland. In that second quarter barrage, what's overlooked is the fact that you had 4 stops in there. Frank Clark makes a huge play. Passanio makes a huge play. There were the picks later. Yeah. But now at home, at Arrowhead, as a group, it's not just, maybe one guy feeling it. Yeah. It's a piranha in the river trying to rip the prey loose.
Yeah, and you talk about that hunt as a pack. That's what they're doing now. It's not the Barry D. Ford and Houston show. And if those guys didn't show up, we knew that our defense didn't have a chance. Now, even when, statistically, if you don't see Frank Clark or Chris Jones or Honey Badger, you don't see those guys on the stat sheet. That doesn't mean the defense isn't having a great, like a lights out, because the defense is now being activated and they're committed to playing together as a unit. And so that's all that matters. Getting off the field is all that matters. I listened to some sound after the game of the Honey Badger telling guys, "Hey man, I got you that one." On that slant route for Warwick, and when 35 got the pick, he kind of boom, hit the slant route out the way, so it was a clean pick. Next time you get one from me, or a week ago when Passano tips the ball and Frank Clark is there to intercept it. Everybody now is kind of buying into the system of the entire defensive unit needs to work for this thing to get accomplished.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see Frank Clark play at home. Veteran guys like Okafor, you mentioned the Honey Badger, but also young guys.
Yeah.
You talk about Hunt as a pack. Now the crowd's part of that pack, right? But that pack also includes young guys like Juan Thornhill to see the impact they can have in this game. All right, as we go to the second quarter here, reminder that our podcast brought to you by the limited edition 360 Vodka Chiefs commemorative bottle. Now available in stores. 360 Vodka is Kansas City's hometown vodka and the official vodka of the Kansas City Chiefs. Great for your tailgate coming up on Sunday against the Baltimore Ravens. Now let's talk about defending the kingdom as a defense against this specific opponent. They were a little bit unfazed by it last year. That was a heck of a game in December. People remember the Patrick Mahomes 4th and 8 for 40 yards plus, 4th and 9 for 48 yards. But there was about 3 dozen other plays in that game that people have forgotten about. And this Ravens team looked better. This Ravens team looks better to me. And it starts with Lamar Jackson. But here you come, a guy who's 8-1 as a starter in the regular season. He lost the playoff game to the Chargers when he fumbled 3 times. Mm-hmm. But here he comes to Arrowhead Stadium. Yes, he's been here before, but I'm telling you, there can be some pressure put on him, even though he's a splendid athlete.
Yeah, he's grown as an athlete, too. He's grown at that quarterback spot since last year. You can tell he spent a lot of time in the offseason working on a lot of things, ball security, where he carries the ball, how he delivers it, his presence in the pocket, his understanding about defensive, how defenses are going to try to attack him and how he needs to escape. All of those things are just a testimony to his maturation as an athlete and as a player and how he's taking it seriously. He doesn't consider himself a one-trick pony. He doesn't consider himself some type of Michael Vick 2.0. He considers himself, the best version of Lamar Jackson, and he's working to develop that. And he's working with the skilled players they've been given. He's not asking for anything that they don't already have. He's making it work, and he's doing it at a very high level. We saw statistically how him and Pat Mahomes are basically tit for tat when it comes to completion percentage. Obviously, wins, touchdown interception ratio, all of those statistics that you put up about the quarterback that leads to winning. But the one thing that they're really doing is time of possession. Mm-hmm. And you talk about winning a football game when you have 2 equally yoked teams that are going tit for tat back and forth on the field. Time of possession. Whose offense will possess the ball to matriculate the ball down the field, put their offense in scoring positions the most during this game is something to be – you're going to have to wait until Sunday to see that, because right now the Baltimore Ravens at almost slightly under 39 minutes a game is leading the NFL in time of possession.
Yeah, he got my attention in the Miami game. I know Miami's struggling this year, but that deep third throw that he hit to Hollywood Brown, the kid out of Oklahoma that people around here know about. But then you start to look at Andrews. Andrews has 16 catches in 2 games. The tight end, who's doing Kelsey kind of things, he has 6 20-plus catches. Then you talk about runners. Gus the Bus Edwards is back. Mark Ingram can run. And the quarterback run game with Jackson. Yeah, he can throw it. He can also run it.
Yes,
that's the $120 he had last week against the Arizona Cardinals. So it appears, Barbershop, that the Ravens pose the same threat that the Chiefs offense does to any defense that it plays. That is, you must defend them now vertically, and you must also defend them horizontally, and you got to defend the run. Enter the pack. Hunt as a pack. Part of your pack is the crowd. Somehow you've got to get these guys behind the chains, and you always say it's a cliche to make every offense predictable, but how much is it with this team in specific?
Well, Lamar Jackson, he showcases that RPO system, the run-pass option, unlike nobody else, because usually a run-pass option, you're thinking about giving it to the running back or the quarterback passing it. But this should be called, instead of the RPO, maybe the RRPO. Because not only do you have to worry about the run from the running back, but you also have to run from the quarterback and the pass. So it might be we need to redefine the Baltimore offense as the RRPO offense, because it makes you play the run twice. You have to secure the run against the running back, and then you also have to be aware that he might come out the back door, quarterback follow, quarterback sweep, bootleg, a sprint out on the corner, then a normal drop back pass and he becomes a runner. So in all those different ways, usually in the NFL, there's not many quarterbacks around that you have to defend like you do Lamar Jackson. And so it causes a little bit of anxiety, causes a little bit of unsure, and a little bit unsure about how hard you can play your home gap, how hard you can penetrate when you know that you have a guy running 4.4 and is a great athlete, could be going out the back door on your defense. So it's a tough kind of it's like a jagged edge. It's a tough pill to swallow sometimes, knowing that you can do everything right. You can be in the exact place you're supposed to be as a defense, cover all the people, and still have this athlete balling down the field for 15, 20 yards. Yep. It's not actually somebody's fault. It's not a missed tackle. It's just in most defenses you don't account for the quarterback being that type of athlete.
Yeah, it's more like a college game, really. The RPO, you see it a lot in college, and that's not a knock against Lamar Jackson. He's an NFL quarterback, accomplished. He's a winner, and Mahomes will trick you. He'll run an RPO and then run it, but it's not designed like every time. I don't think everybody's is Mahomes going to keep it or not. And so with Jackson, you have to respect that. But that's where this crowd comes into play. It goes back to my thesis where a crowd becomes, your 12th and 13th man on defense here. You need to play this RPO. All right, halftime of the podcast. Again, a reminder, it's brought to you by 360 Vodka. 360 Vodka, I'll get it. Your game day cocktails are covered with 360 Vodka. Grab a bottle for your next tailgate or watch party. Get an orange, go to the restroom quick. You get 12 minutes in the NFL, and the podcast you get a second. There it is. Now we go to the third quarter because we're going to flip this the other side. Now, Lamar Jackson, it's not a surprise that Patrick Mahomes has 7 touchdowns and no picks. It is a surprise that Lamar Jackson has 7 touchdowns and no picks. But now let's talk about Mahomes against this defense. The Ravens defense last year, Barbershop, hit Mahomes 16 times. It's the most he was hit in any game last year, playoffs or regular season. Already the Ravens have hit their opposing quarterbacks 21 times in the first 2 weeks of the season. And Eric Fisher won't play. The core injury, he's going to have some surgery. Now, it's the old thing, the balance of attacking and protecting against this Ravens defense.
Yeah, this Ravens defense is one for the ages, and they've lost a lot. They had they've lost a Pro Bowl person at every level, right? They lost Eric Waddell, they lost C.J. Mosley, they lost T. Sizzle up front. So they're not your Pops Ravens defense of a few years ago, but they've retooled. And they've actually they stuck true to that hybrid scheme. Martindale has been known as being one of the most aggressive, blitz-happy coordinators in the league. And he's done a lot when it comes to putting pressure on the quarterback using 6, 7, 8 guys at the line of scrimmage, not knowing who's coming, who's going, and then dropping back into like a weird zone or weird man coverage. And putting a lot of pressure on the quarterback to find the open man before the pressure gets to him.
Young running backs will also have to participate this week. You look at Darryl Williams. Last year had some playoff experience, had the touchdown against the Colts. Got a lot of playoff experience, actually. The termite, Darwin Thompson, who we saw in the preseason, step up. We'll see if Shady McCoy can go some or at all. And then, of course, the sausage, Anthony Sherman. But the running backs, they have to run it, they got to catch it, but they also have to protect and help Pat Mahomes.
Yes, sir. They're part of the protection. In every scheme, the running backs are part of the protection. You got to scan before you leave, or you got to pick up somebody before you leave. The Ravens, I looked at a game last year against the Cleveland Browns when they, at the end of the game, went into 0 blitz, 4 snaps in a row to try to seal a win. And every time it was a linebacker one-on-one with a running back, and that was the key block that was missed that allowed leakers to get to Mayfield and make him throw it away early or get rid of the ball early. And they count on that matchup. They count on you letting one of your linebackers go on your running backs because they feel that's an advantage for the defense, and they're willing to go zero coverage, no help. They have so much faith in their secondary and their corners that they're okay going with zero coverage, no help in the back end to allow their defense to go hunt.
Finally, the fourth quarter has to deal with the guy that's going to break the record. Dustin Colquitt, 225 games, more than any Dallas Texan or Kansas City Chief, more than Will Shields.
Yeah.
Our fourth quarter deals with an Arrowhead icon, basically, in Dustin Colquitt breaking that milestone.
Man, that's in the NFL today when the average the average career of an athlete is 2.4, maybe 2.6, not even 3 seasons. And he's about to quadruple that and go and excel beyond that. Myself playing 10 years, of those 10 years, I was hurt, multiple years, maybe 4 of them. So I played maybe 6 seasons during a 10-year span. So it's kind of a little bit different scenario, whereas he's been active and a part of this thing since 2005. I remember, when him and DJ came into the building, I was a linebacker on the end of my career, trying to scratch away, stay around for another year, and having these young guys come into the fold. We know how exciting the Kingdom feels about Derrick Johnson and all he did for this Kingdom, but the consistency level and the professionalism that Colquitt has provided at that kicking game, that coffin, punting the ball inside, not just the 20-yard line, but inside the 10-yard line. Yep. We still waiting for the league to start keeping track of that because that's what he excels in. And he's been doing it at a high level for so long. It's easy to see how people can take him for granted.
424 punts without a block. 2013, his last block punt. You mentioned 450, some close to that inside the 20 and many inside the 10. All right, it's time to go. Here we go, as it's time to open up the doors to the Kingdom and have a home game. A reminder, our podcast brought to you by 360 Vodka. Your game day cocktails covered with 360 Vodka. Here we go, buddy. 142.2. He's the Barbershop. I'm the voice, Mitch Holthus, along with Shawn Barber. Thanks for joining us in this edition of Defending the Kingdom.
Thanks for listening to the Chiefs Official Podcast Network.